right, guys, welcome in to another episode of our podcast, Sound Supply. My name is Eric Huber, product specialist here at TOA Electronics, and we have a good one today. Finally, we're bringing in somebody within the industry that's not inside of TOA per se, and we're going to be getting into it a little bit. We're going to be talking about an installation, the HX series, what he used, and so on and so forth. So as you guys know, Sound Supply every single Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Make sure you guys check it out. We're coming at you now with some brand new exterior guests to kind of switch it up and get things interesting. So without further ado, let's bring Chris in. Chris is just going to unmute his mic there.
I'm here.
There he is. Chris, how you doing today?
Good. How are you doing?
I am excellent. Chris, let's get started. If you could tell me a little bit about your background, your company, where you're based out of, what's the weather like today, whatever you got.
Well, we're based out of the Chicago suburbs. Our main client base is Northern Illinois, Southern Wisconsin, Northern Indiana. We do a fair amount of nationwide work. We've got a couple of nationwide clients, event spaces, health clubs, things like that. So we do travel a fair amount, but primarily we are in the Chicago area, Midwest. The company was founded in 1982 by my parents as a security and data company. And I've been a musician since I was 5 years old, drums and percussion. Studied music and sound engineering in college. And then after college, started to get involved with the parents' business and started an AV division, which at first they wanted nothing to do with. And then as the portion grew, all of a sudden they found more interest in it.
Okay.
So I've been running this portion since around 90. Cool. So whatever that makes it, 30 some odd years. And, 98% commercial. And I don't know, anything else you want to know?
What's the 2%?
We do a little bit of high-end residential for clients. Like if we've got a large client that, says, hey, can you do something in our house? We'll do it, but it's not something we hold out to the public.
Yeah. Okay. And what is GMK? What does that stand for?
That's my parents' initials, the founders of the company, Gene and
cool.
Mary Ann King.
Very cool. And your website, Chris, what is that?
GMKAV.com.
.com. Cool. Very cool. Cool, Chris. Actually, I'm involved in music as well. I DJ. You know if that counts.
I don't know. There's a huge fight between musicians and DJs these days.
But I do play some guitar. I've run live sound. So like the MI is my background.
Got it.
So I just got back in, this is my first entry into commercial audio about 2 years back. I joined TOA. Mm-hmm. Before that, it was retail MI, and then I was looking for an MI company that did pro audio and things like that. So, all right, cool. A little bit of common there. Awesome. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Do you have a band? Do you play professionally on the side? Like, what do you do percussion?
I still play quite a bit.
Okay.
Recently, I primarily was dealing with, I do everything from orchestral musician to heavy metal. Nice. Everything across the board. Did quite a bit of touring in my younger days when that was actually an option. It's not quite as affordable anymore, and I'm a little long on the tooth to be sleeping in vans anyway. But where was I going with this?
I don't know.
I don't know. But I lost my train of thought.
Yeah. So I obviously it sounded like it was a professional option, more of a hobby today. More, obviously a passion.
Oh, it's definitely still a passion, and just music in general is still a big passion, which helps with the audio industry. So you still have an ear for music.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, cool. All right. So before we get into this, specific install you guys did, I was looking at your website. A lot of retail type clientele I'm seeing. Gyms I saw, McDonald's on there. Is that your main core?
We're pretty agnostic as far as projects.
Okay.
Back in say from 03 to 09, we were doing a lot of very, very large rollouts for large corporations. We did a fair amount of flagship stores for McDonald's. We did their flagship store in Oak Brook next to their corporate campus in Oak Brook, Illinois. We did the Rock and Roll McDonald's downtown. We did the flagship McDonald's on the Strip in Vegas, and a couple other projects in New York, LA, places like that. Nice. Do a lot of work for Lifetime Fitness, did a lot of work for Bally Fitness before they went under. Did a lot of work for Planet Fitness. We used to do a lot of work for Virgin Megastore back in the day. A lot of, those type clients, TGI Fridays, Chili's, you name it. And then what happened after, '09, when the economy came to a screeching halt, all that work went away.
Gotcha.
But we've always had our hands in like a lot of different markets because, growing up in a business that my parents ran and then being in the business so long, you always see the markets ebb and flow. And we've always found that having your hands in a lot of different markets allows a lot of flexibility when times get lean. Because perfect example, a lot of the corporate AV companies that were tied to like large corporations and doing office build outs and things like that, when the pandemic hit and the offices closed, they had no work.
Right.
Where we just shifted our focus to church systems, live streaming, distance learning systems, collaboration systems like that. So we just shifted our focus. We already had the client base. It turned into what can we do for you to help keep you moving business-wise while your office space is shut down.
Right. So you guys did actually make a pivot. Excuse me, my phone's going off.
Mm-hmm.
Before or while the pandemic hit, and you just segued into what I was about to ask you next. But today, what's your temperature on the market today? Has it changed? And it has. But what is your take on maybe what it's like today, and where do you think maybe it's moving towards? I like the idea of the examples you just gave out there on how the church thing where guys just wanted to get audio to the net. I mean, it's as simple as that, but they had no idea how to do that. But today, where do you see the market today, and where do you see it going?
Right now, I see a lot of trepidation in the market. The big concern, especially in our market, Chicago, it's been very, very volatile. The leadership isn't really sure where they want to be as far as opening markets back up, shutting things back down. They're constantly watching the numbers of, COVID week to week, saying, there's a rise this week, there was a drop last week. Should we start closing restaurants again? What are we going to do about social distancing? What kind of numbers do we allow in churches? So, a lot of our clients were, shut down for a year and a half. Chicago was one of the first cities to close down. They were one of the last cities to open up. So you saw a lot of transition in those markets where, a lot of entertainment venues closed permanently. Absolutely. They just couldn't afford to ride it out. The ones that are still here opening back up, some of them did some rebranding in the close down, did some remodeling. But now there's, clients that want to move forward. They're thinking about opening new locations. They're thinking about upgrading things. The big question is, are they going to start to shut things back down again? So I see a lot of trepidation right now with people just being worried about, do I spend the money? Do I start doing upgrades? Or do I have to have some money in the bank if they shut things down again, to ride out the next wave?
Yeah.
We're also seeing a lot of larger corporate businesses where they're like, hey, the work from home thing worked out really well. Maybe we just need to reduce our footprint and not have such a large office. Mm-hmm. So you're seeing a lot of, okay, how do we keep our clients collaborating with us? How do we keep our workforce talking to each other, in somewhat of an office environment, but not them being in the office. So what we're offering is, hey, how do we help you make that happen? And you see a lot of, there's a lot of people, you've got a lot of older people in the marketplace that are really afraid of technology and they're not really willing to learn a whole lot. And then you've got a lot of younger people that have all these tools, but they don't know how to use them. Right. So a lot of the requests we get from a lot of our corporate clients is, hey, how do we have a super simple solution that everybody can use, can figure out in less than a minute, and works on every platform that's out there, whether it be Zoom, Teams, Skype, whatever format they're on. And all their clients use different formats too. Everybody's on a different standard. So the question is, how do we have a universal toolkit that everybody can use that works on everybody's format? So that's a lot of what we're seeing in the marketplace right now is just user friendliness and all-encompassing solutions.
Right. Yeah, the user experience, well, you get that. Good? Okay.
Yeah.
The user experience is huge. Obviously, you want to keep it as simple as you can up front, right? And have as much control as you want on the back end. But yeah, people tend to shy away from that. But I think we're going in the right direction when it comes to simplicity on the front end, but keeping the power that we need on the back end so we can access that information.
Right.
Cool. Going in the direction of live audio, you mentioned, or pro audio, live stage type situations. You mentioned entertainment establishments, things like that. You did mention a couple of trends on establishments closing. Any changes in the way that a system was installed previously to the pandemic to today? Any changes maybe in the equipment being used or anything like that in that type of scenario?
Primarily what we're seeing right now in the marketplace is venues are a lot less likely to buy equipment. They're more pushing towards leasing it.
Got it.
We're seeing a lot of venues where, the same thing where, hey, we might not be around in a couple of years. Why are we going to invest $150,000, $200,000, $250,000 in a system that we just might not need in a couple of years? So, 10, 15, 20 years ago, we were doing a lot of installed sound and live music venues and places like that, which now tend more to just do a lease. They'll go to like a pro hire company, a live events company, and then just rent a system week to week. That way they don't own it. They're not responsible for the liability and the upkeep of it. And then when it gets a little older, they just go to the supplier and they say, hey, we want a new rig. So pull the old stuff out and give us something new.
That's it.
So we're seeing a lot of that now. So we actually haven't done any live view and venue installs for about 5-6 years, I think.
Wow. Okay. Even way before what's going on. Interesting.
Because it was the same thing. We're seeing a lot of turnover in Chicago and live music venues.
Gotcha.
So same situation. They really weren't sure how the concept was going to work, how the neighborhood was going to work, what kind of bands they were going to get in. So it was kind of like, we'll put our toe in the water and see how everything looks. And so it turned a lot into leasing equipment. And we've seen that across the board, not just with AV equipment, with kitchen equipment, bar equipment, things like that, where they're more apt to lease it. Because, taxation wise, it's a write-off. If you lease it, you can depreciate it. You don't own it, so you're not responsible for maintaining it, things like that. So we've seen a big trend towards leasing equipment versus buying it.
It's good to know. I actually didn't know that. It's interesting stuff. Okay, cool. All right, getting into the Hammond High School installation. So I'm assuming this was a gymnasium installation at this school?
Yes, it was a gymnasium. It's more of a multi-purpose because they don't have a theater. So there is a small stage that actually also serves as, they do some talent shows and other type events there. It's more of a platform than a stage, but they did hire a musical director, and they have faculty that are acting as theater directors, and they're looking to do more events other than sporting events in the space.
Gotcha.
So
like a hybrid.
You're right. And part of driving that is having a system that can function in that capacity.
Yep.
Because before that, they pretty much had a vocal PA for sporting events, and that was pretty much it. And they had a small PA for the stage that would cover about half the space. But it wasn't enough to do any kind of full-scale performance in the space. And it couldn't really do high-powered music, which is pretty popular in high school gyms these days.
Yes.
For timeouts and breaks between games and things like that. So they wanted something to do more of a full function, to be able to do all those different events and also sound good as well.
Right. So that was the problem at hand there. They just weren't able to perform to their needs, especially with full range audio, it seems, with just the vocal PA.
Primarily full range audio, but even just when the games were getting excited and the crowd was getting loud, they couldn't get the announcer over the crowd noise.
Ooh, makes sense.
Which is very important.
And what's the typical capacity there at an event in that space?
That's a good question. I never really got that. They only have 6 tiers of collapsible
bleachers,
stands, but also they use it for full school events, for assemblies and whatnot, where the entire school dump into the space.
Okay.
So they need that for rallies, for the football team, basketball team, homecoming, all that other stuff. And they also wanted to start renting the space out. It's a charter school. It's not a public school.
Gotcha.
So they also wanted to start renting the space out for events and other things as well.
Makes sense.
As an income stream.
Yep.
So that was part of it as well, to be able to have any event in there and have a plug and play system that could do anything they needed it to do.
Cool. Okay. All right, let's get into why the HX7, why TOA? What drove you in that direction? Towards that compact array type solution.
Well, we were throwing around a bunch of different concept ideas on how to make the system work. Obviously, it's a gym. It's a very, very highly reflective space. They did have some acoustic treatment in there, which helped. They had some treatment on the walls, but you still have a wood floor, cinder block walls, perforated steel ceiling. So there's a lot of seriously reflective spaces in there. So we knew we had to have really good pattern control. We knew we had to have consistent throw from front to back.
Right.
And we needed to have tight pattern controls for the bleachers because we didn't want all that sound bouncing off the back wall, spilling into the space and causing delays, killing intelligibility. So we were looking at, steerable arrays, which gave us directivity, but it didn't really give us the sound quality or the low frequency response we wanted. And then the rep has been trying to pull me into that particular product line for a while. So we're like, okay, line arrays sound like a good idea. They had a really tight budget being a charter school. They didn't have a ton of money to play with.
Right.
So budget was a concern. And, we had the performance parameters we had to meet. So we had a couple of conference calls with the designers at TOA. They gave us a couple of different concepts. They modeled them all out for us, and they modeled really, really well. And it hit the price point. So we're like, okay, we'll give it a shot. So we went with the concept, and it actually performed above and beyond my expectation.
Nice.
So it was a win-win for everybody. And the other thing was we were assuming we might need to make multiple presets because the stage is at the short side shooting across the basketball court. And then on the side of the building were the bleachers. So we had 3 of the HX7s to cover the bleachers for primarily speech, to make sure the intelligibility was good. And we got the power level we wanted to the bleachers to get over the crowd noise. And we were thinking we might need to shut those off for assemblies when they weren't using the bleachers. And it turned out the pattern control was so good, it wasn't bleeding into the space at all. We didn't even have to turn them off.
Awesome. Cool. Chris, tell me more, because you did strike a chord there. Who did you work with, by the way, here at TOA, design-wise? Was it Jim? Was it Dan?
It was Dan.
Dan Shore? Okay.
Yeah.
Dan's great. Yeah, because we strive heavy on our design process and the way we actually work with our customers and the one-on-one experience and the details that we gain, because we want to make sure everything is right for you, your customer, and everything's smooth is just smoothed out and the process is fantastic. Anything else you could tell me about the design process? What you enjoyed about it? Yeah, anything.
I mean, the design process was pretty simple. I mean, I just gave Dan all the parameters. Right. I gave him, roughly, I gave him obviously the dimensions of the room, usage, relative budget. And he very quickly turned around like 3 real good concepts.
Nice.
In different price ranges. And we had, all these different options. He did all the modeling and everything for us to present to the client. And, they were able to drill down, okay, this system works within our budget and this is what we like. And, the whole process happened within a couple of days. So it was really quick.
Awesome. And free of charge, right? If I'm not mistaken?
Yes.
Free of charge. And you like the options, I hear that, which is great, because we have a lot of products that can work in different scenarios. And there's really never like one solid way, but to give you those options is really cool. So that's key. And especially like normally whenever the first meeting happens with a client, especially a new client,
it's kind of like buying a new car. They want everything under the roof. Right. I want leather seats, big engine, a lot of power, sporty look, blah, blah, blah. And then they see the price tag and like, okay, what else you got? And being able right off the bat to hit them with 3 options at 3 price points and saying, we have a good, better, best scenario. These are what the scenarios cost. How does this all fit in your budget based on, how they'll perform?
Right.
And it makes the whole thing pretty quick instead of like a ton of back and forthing.
Exactly. Great point. Chris, so is this your first introduction to TOA products or?
Oh no, we've been using their commercial products for 30 plus years.
Okay.
I mean, we've been putting in the 900 series since they came out with it.
Yeah, we're still selling them.
Yeah, and they still work great. I mean,
30 years later,
we're still pulling a Silverface 500 series out of installs that are still working.
Older than me.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, this stuff just lasts forever. So reliability has never been an issue with TOA.
Excellent. Well, your first experience, from what I'm hearing, with the HX7?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Now, did you also throw in FB150s with those as well, or no?
Yes, we did.
You did. Okay. Any thoughts on those?
They're actually impressive for their size. I was surprised how much low end they put out.
Nice. Cool. Okay, so how were you with this project? Was it the rep that mentioned TOA? Did TOA come up thinking of a project like this, or how was that connection actually made?
Well, I've been talking to the rep for a long time. I have a great relationship with her, and over the years, she's always brought this up as an option.
Gotcha.
If you ever need something, this is out there. So when this project came up, I went to the rep and I said, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And then she hooked me up with Dan, and then we started the process, and then here we are.
Nice. Perfect. All right, Chris. Excellent information. I just want to thank you for being here and coming in and using TOA products. We really appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, not a problem. Maybe one day I'll be up in Chicago. We'll see. I have family.
Give me a shout.
I do have family out there.
In Chicago proper or the suburbs?
Suburbs.
Which one?
I don't know. I have to look into it.
But There's a lot of them.
There is. I mean, it's a nice area. I enjoy it.
Oh yeah, it's a beautiful area.
All right, guys. Thanks again. Remember, every single Monday, Sound Supply episodes, brand new ones coming forward. We're going to bring more people like Chris in to talk about our new products, new projects, whatever we got going on. 8 p.m. Eastern every Monday. We'll see you next time and take care.